Alright, so some time ago I went over Kanye's albums and how good they are, and for this video, I'll be going over the Tyler the Creator albums. Now, Tyler the Creator is a rapper that I'm not sure how often I've talked about him on this channel, but I have actually been following his music now for a pretty long time, and he is one of the best musicians, in my opinion. Like, when it comes to actually just pure rapping, it's cool, I guess. Like, that's not why I'm really listening to him. The music in its entirety, he has always been talented, but to see him grow to what he is now has always been really interesting to watch. So, I decided that I was going to rank his albums for this video, and unlike the Kanye video where I just mainly said album names and that was it, for this video I might be going into some more detail into the albums because even though I listened to every Kanye album when he did the list, I'm more experienced with these Tyler the Creator albums, so I have a little more to say about them. On the bottom of the list we have Goblin. Now this album came off the heels of his mixtape Bastard, and I feel like when he wanted to make a follow-up that was just what Bastard was, but ×2, but in the end, it felt like a regression, because where Bastard was very aggressive and, dark and twisted and all that stuff, Goblin being that is more like an edgy kid pouting. I mean, they both are. Both albums are like an edgy kid pouting, but the difference is, it's a 17-year-old doing it. It's like an 18-year-old doing it. So, when you're a young person and you're making this weirdo music, but at least you're talented about it, like, we're gonna give you a pass, but when this is your first album and you're doing the same things, like, it's different. That being said, this album has some of his best songs, like, She, and, even though this actually isn't really that well regarded by, people listening now, I actually think Sean Cut's a pretty cool song. Next, we have Bastard, and this album is, again, kinda try-hardy, but it's okay because he was only 17 when he made a lot of it, 18 when he made the rest of it. And at the end of the day, he shows talent in the album. Like, the production on this album is not as good as it will become later in his career, but it's still pretty cool. Like, the first track is a really good introduction to not just his album, but his entire discography. Like, to see how he goes from the first track to how he is now is just, I think this album is cool. Not cool enough to listen to on a regular basis, but cool enough to, like, respect. Next, we have Cherry Bomb, and even though this may seem early for an album like this, I actually think this album has some of the best songs in his entire career, like Okaga CA, and in fact, I think the very best song he ever made is Smuckers. This album has some of his best work, but the problem is also some of his lamest work. Like, I don't care for Run or Pilots. As the years go by, I hate them less, but they're just whatever. Like, it's like, this doesn't have to be on an album. This is not, like, album worthy. That being said, a lot of people don't like Keep the O's, but I think it's cool. Like, I actually think it's a cool song. I think it should not be compared to, like, Run and Pilot. I think it's, like, way better than them. And, the rest of the album is pretty cool, but I said last time like Yeezus was, like, experimental album, but it was really good because it was better than most of his work, so it's like, but this Cherry Bomb album is an experimental album that's just experimental. It's not necessarily better than what came before, that's the problem. That being said, in some aspects it is better than what came before it. Like, it's some of his best production ever, but the mixing is a little too much at times. Not all the time, and sometimes even when the mixing isn't good, you can tell the effect he was going for. Like, it was on purpose, but still, even if it's on purpose, that doesn't make it good. It just makes it on purpose. It means that you're gonna have to grade it differently, but at the end of the day, I can respect this album. This album would never be trash, I can respect it, but it was a big disappointment to a lot of people when it came out. Now people are trying to see the lights and see that it's actually a decent, cool album, but at the time it was not going on well with a lot of people. And next we have, for those of us, this is kind of a little different, because even though I'm going to be ranking them by what I think is better, my own personal opinion is slightly different. Like, you know how when you like something more than something else, but you know the other thing's better? It's like kind of like that. Anyway, for what I think is the next best album in his discography is Wolf. This album is the first I listened to. Like, the first Tyler Creator song I ever listened to was Tamale. And it wasn't his most recent album at the time, but it was the one that I was listening to. And just like how he said that Graduation was the perfect end to the trilogy that started with College Graduation, Wolf is the perfect end to the trilogy that started with Bastard. This album is like the culmination of what Tyler was before the Flower Boy era, and I think is just really cool to listen to. Obviously, a lot of this may be nostalgia, but I really do like this album more than Flower Boy. That being said, I would put Flower Boy above it in terms of quality, because Flower Boy is like... It's like in Flower Boy, he learned what made Wolf cool when it came to rapping and just the style of Wolf. But he also kept the production quality of Cherry Bomb, because even though I like Wolf more, I would say Cherry Bomb is like, you know, some of his best production. So it's like he upped the production and kept the quality of Wolf in terms of rapping and like style. So Flower Boy at the time was his best album to date when it came out, and I feel like it's better than Wolf in terms of just general quality. That being said, I would rather listen to Wolf, but you know, these next two lists are even harder for me to judge, because not only am I kind of conflicted in terms of my own personal opinion, I'm conflicted in terms of what I think is actually better, but whatever. We'll say for now, just know that this list is subject to change in my mind. This could change literally next week in my mind, but these two next ones are interchangeable. For the next best album, we have Igor. Now, this album is a really interesting concept album where he's like following the life of a man who, you know, is a weirdo. But the thing about it is, not only is the production the best it's ever been, but it is also his most compelling story. Like, Bastard and Goblin and Wolf all had stories too, but this story, it's like every song on the album, except for maybe like a few of them, tie in the story so perfectly, whereas in Goblin and Wolf, it will be like, yeah, there's things going on in the background here, but a lot of songs are just him rapping. I'm not against that at all. In fact, I don't even need it to be a story at all. I'm just saying, like, the way Igor's story is perfectly put together is just, like, as an album project, it's hard for me to not say this is the best one. It really is, but at the same time, as much as I respect this album a lot, I don't go back to it that often, which is why I am struggling to put it at number one. And if I already listed all the other albums, then you would know that number one has to be Call Me If You Get Lost. This album is him back to just straight rapping, which I think is cool, because he is a cool rapper. Again, I don't listen to him just for it to seem like, you know, be the best rapper ever. I think he's a cool rapper, but like, it's more the production that people are drawn to him, I guess. But not only have the rap stepped up, but the production's also as high as ever. Production has not taken it back to it at all. The whole DJ drama yelling in the background thing, I thought it was funny. I thought it was entertaining to see Tyler, you know, try to appeal to all the hood guys who were not even checking for him, but I do go back to this. I mean, in the past couple of weeks, months, whatever, I believe I might be more to Wolf, but in general, when this album came out, I was, like, listening to it more than I was, like, the last three. Except maybe Flower Boy, but it was probably equal to that. But yeah, Call Me If You Get Lost, I would say, is, as of this video, his best album. I respect it a lot, and I respect his work a lot. Depending on how this video goes, I will be making other rapper album tier lists, and it won't just be albums either. I could be making tier lists of different shows, different seasons of shows, different characters and movies, taking characters in shows, different, you know, songs in singular albums, you know. It's just a whole lot of things I can do with this. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave a comment on the video about how right I am, and how you can see the light now. Alright guys, so some time ago I just put out the first episode of my own original series, and I hope you guys go check that out, and thank you for watching.